I try not to think about it. I try to think positive that we're going to find her alive. And that's what's keeping me going. Bring her back, and I'll have a big reward for you, whoever you are. No questions asked. Just bring my daughter home.
Every missing persons case starts a ticking clock for those families, but sometimes medical issues can amplify the importance of that ticking clock. We're coming up on 1 year. It's time to turn on the searchlight for Nicole Irene Anderson. Welcome back to Brainscratch Searchlight. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thanks for caring about these cases like I do. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. This is a picture of Nicole Irene Anderson and a scary message from Facebook posted by her brother, Troy Harrow. My sister disappeared from her driveway Saturday morning. Suspected abduction. She is a cancer survivor and needs her medication. Let's go ahead and start at NamUs with the basics of this case. Date of last contact, July 6th, 2024. Missing from Randolph Township, Minnesota at the age of 56. She is currently 57 years old. Nicole Irene Anderson also goes by Nikki. That could be spelled with 1 K or 2. She stands at 5 feet 10 inches tall and weighs somewhere between 125 to 135 pounds. In terms of circumstances, Nikki Irene Anderson was last seen at approximately 8:55 a.m. on Saturday, July 6, 2024, leaving her residence on foot in Randolph Township, Dakota County. She left her phone, wallet, and keys behind and has not been heard from since. She has strawberry blonde hair. It's cut in a short pixie style cut currently. With brown eyes. She does wear glasses, and we can see there's footage of her right before the disappearance. It seems like she's wearing sunglasses in that footage. I don't know if those are prescription. I don't know if her prescription ones are with her or not. She does have a tattoo. There is script on the inside of her right bicep. Also a large tattoo on her back of a flower rose that starts at the small of her back and it goes all the way up. They do have an image of the one inside her arm, and you can see it's a heart symbol that turns into like a heartbeat line, and then it spells out the word sisters after that. Now, where is this taking place? Randolph Township, actually not incredibly far from where I am. This is the town's website. Welcome to Randolph Township, a small town with a big heart. Our community is built on family and farming values that our residents treasure. We're proud to be part of the beautiful landscape of southeastern Minnesota, which includes the picturesque Lake Bilsby. Our township aims to be accessible and responsive to our residents, providing services and support that make life in Randolph Township as enjoyable and fulfilling as possible. I can say after moving to this state, I have driven through many small towns of this type, and they are just beautiful. I can see why people live in these locations, move to these locations. You can find peace, quiet, tranquility, but in this particular area, also commerce. The median income in this area, pretty good, I think at around $66,000 per year, and just beautiful lands that we'll see a little bit as we get to the maps. Let's learn a little bit more at Wikipedia. Randolph Township is a township in Dakota County, Minnesota. Population, 760 people. And that's as of the 2020 census. So if we are talking about a situation where this is some type of crime, we're talking a very small population for that area. That can be a good thing in terms of communication, because usually small areas like that, the social networks are very, very strong and information will zip around those social networks. In a case like this, where we're worried about a possible abduction, it's just a question of, is the person that's responsible actually talking? The second question might be, is the person that's responsible actually from this area? So a couple of different conditions that can come into play there. Let's learn just a little bit more about Randolph Township. It has a total area of 10.6 square miles. 9.4 of that is land, and then 1.2 is water. So there is a little bit of water in this area. I have not seen anything about water searches being conducted, but I don't really see any leads to kind of point them in that direction. Basically, the home that she disappeared from is just surrounded by land. But I do want to point out one thing about living out here in Minnesota, and that is you can have ponds anywhere. I could walk across the street, and I think my neighbor has a pond in their backyard. I probably pass, I don't know, half a dozen or more ponds just getting to the freeway here. Water resides in different ways out here than my previous experience of living in California. So despite the fact that it looks like, we're talking about a lot of land around the area of her disappearance, I would have just a slight concern about water sources that might be worth looking into that are local as well. You'll see law enforcement in the area has basically done very strong searches looking for her. They have not found her. And at this point, law enforcement is also saying that they do think that this is possibly a foul play situation. Seems like we have something else at play here. Also, one last thing worth noting about this area, the city of Randolph is geographically within Randolph Township, but it's a separate entity. And you can see that when we bring up the map, that they have Randolph kind of blocked off here in this big square, but the township quite a bit bigger. And then for the main water source, you can see it is Lake Billsby. That is the main water source here. And based on where she was living, I think there's some potential for being concerned about those water sources, but without a solid lead, I mean, look how much shoreline there is here. How would you even know where to look? And then you have all these kind of creeks pulling off from the main lake there. That includes canoe access points. So this is pretty substantial water that we have going on here. But for the immediate area where she went missing from, this is what we're looking at. We've got basically, it looks like solar farming that's happening around here, and then crop farming, and just large, vast areas of land, and with not a ton of geographic detail. You can see here from the street view, there's just not a lot of geographical obstructions. You do have clusters of trees, but those are usually around someone's home. Outside of that, the land is very accessible, very flat. I know that they used a helicopter during their search. That should be pretty strong. We have a good description of her clothing because, as I mentioned, there is footage, and we have a picture of that footage right here. She was last seen wearing dark colored pants, a long gray shirt, and sandals. I've seen other descriptions that say that the pants are actually camouflage, which that might make it a little trickier. Last known photo of her taken on a Ring camera can be viewed on the right. The sheriff's office stated that it had completed a search in the area around Anderson's home and is still following leads on where she may be. Let's go ahead and take a look at that Ring footage real quick. And there's something kind of interesting that's happening in it. So she tells her mother that she's headed outside to go get the mail. And from what I understand, I think the mailbox would have her walking in a different direction, but there is someone that is working on the property and they are cutting wood for the family. And she walks towards them. I don't know if that's their vehicle out there, but in that direction. And there's some clips I've heard where she's actually speaking to them. And you can see her mouth moving a little bit there as she walks over. So apparently this is not the direction of where her mailbox is, and she's speaking to the person as she's heading over. So it seems like she's going to address that person. Now, why is that so important? We're going to hear that her brother is somewhat suspicious of this person, but outside of that, I'm concerned about the information that we're having for her last sighting. We know from this Ring camera she is going, and it seems her intent is to go interact with this other person. So why, in terms of her last sighting, are we not getting their perspective on where she went? If she walks over and she talks to someone over there, they should then have the rest of the story about, oh, she turned away from me and walked towards the mailbox, or she walked towards the road, or she went walking off into the trees. And that should be the information about the last sighting, and we're not getting that level of detail. Why? That's a very big question in this case. And I wouldn't be surprised. It could be that law enforcement has that information. If they trusted it, wouldn't they put that out publicly so that the public, law enforcement's asking for the public's help here. So if they could rely on that information, I'm pretty certain that they would put that out publicly. We're not hearing that. So are they also having some concern with this possible person of interest? The last person that she went and engaged with, at least according to what the Ring camera is telling us. In this image, sitting with her mother is her brother, Troy. Let's get a quote from her mom here about her last interaction with her daughter. She went out to get the mail, and I said, "Nikki, come finish your coffee first." And she said, "I'll be right back," explained Doreen Mies, the missing woman's mother. "I'll be right back" is the last I saw her. She would never leave without her dog, without her cell phone, without her wallet. She would not do that, said her brother, Troy. Yeah, she does have a dog that was still in the house. She lives with her mother. I don't know if anyone else lives there. All I know in terms of other people on the property is there was this person that was there supposedly helping them cut wood. The Dakota County Sheriff's Office said that they spent nearly 10 hours using drones and canines to assist. Officials are confident that she's not there, so they don't think she's on that property. They think there's no chance of it. And after looking at the landscape of it, I think it'd be pretty difficult for her to just literally up and disappear, especially for them pulling canines out there. But knowing that they were using drones, I've also seen other mention of helicopter searches. This area is kind of the perfect conditions for those search efforts, and she's not being found. Her mom said, "We called every known friend, ex-boyfriend, everybody. No one had seen her." Anderson had undergone a double mastectomy 2 weeks before and was finishing up breast cancer treatment when she disappeared. And this is why I made that point at the start of today's episode about the clock. Yes, the clock in every missing persons case is important. I want every family to get out of that as soon as they can, to put that clock down and have their loved one back, hopefully, but if not, at least have answers. But when you have serious, serious medical issues of this nature at play on top of that, every minute is important. And unfortunately, we're at about 11 months right now, a little bit over, and we still don't know where she is. Now, she did have plans with her mother that day. Her mother says that we had big plans to, I believe they had plans for dinner that evening, but they were also going to go shopping and spend some money, is what her mom says. She would never miss that. So somehow those plans get derailed. She completely vanishes from this area where there's not a lot of people around, and we have no answer. Authorities in Dakota County are asking for the public's help. They're just hoping that people will call in, even if it's a weird thing, call in. They need a clue from the general public, and they need somebody. If you suspect somebody, just call the hotline, said Doreen Mies. It's the only way that we're going to be able to find her. The sheriff's office said that they're fairly confident that Anderson is not near her property. She can't survive very long if we don't find her, said her mother. According to Mies, Anderson had been undergoing chemo, fighting a 2-year battle with breast cancer. She would never go without her dog or without her phone. Her family is now pleading for someone to come forward with information. So we've got both the family and law enforcement being very clear in this case. They're both looking for help. Her brother said that he believes a man who posed as a woodcutter at Anderson's property is now the #1 person of interest. He said that the man had stalked his sister. He wasn't doing any work. He was just kind of hanging out there watching her, and he was the last person to see her, said her brother. I think it's a very important consideration. I mean, it is where the trail ends in terms of the public information, and I just have to ask that question again, why? Now, it seems that Nikki's brother is not the only person that thinks the woodcutter might be a possibility in this case. Let's hear some comments from her mother as well.
The one that was doing the wood here, maybe he took her somewhere, or somebody she knew. I didn't think much about it. I mean, this is rural Randolph. These things don't happen.
It's an interesting point that she brings up. There is a possibility that Nikki went and approached this person, and especially with how the brother's talking about this relationship, you know, he sees it as this, I'm assuming it's a man, was likely a stalker of some kind. Could there have been more of a relationship at play there? Would there be some reason why Nikki would go and tell him, okay, now you've got to take me to this particular place? Did she have to go pick something up or something along those lines? I don't know. But it just keeps taking me back to kind of the black box in this case, which is, where is that person's information? Why don't we have it? Why can't we put that out in the public and see if it helps move this case? Now, about 4 days after she went missing, investigators executed a search warrant at the Randolph home of Anderson's boyfriend. They're saying boyfriend here, but based on other sources, it's more like ex-boyfriend, a 42-year-old man named Matthew Suttles. Suttles' criminal history includes numerous drug and other convictions. I looked into it just a little bit. A few charges related to methamphetamines, also some light weapons charges. Suttles was a person of interest in the Anderson case, and his property was one that Anderson frequented, investigators noted. Suttles was not present at the time of the search warrant, but he turned himself in a short time later. He was arrested on his previous warrants and questioned about Anderson's disappearance. And they're being very clear here. He is not being held on criminal charges related to Ms. Anderson's disappearance. We continue our exhaustive efforts to locate Ms. Anderson. This remains an active investigation, and no further information will be released at this time. And here we just have a quick screen grab of what the search was like. Apparently there was some type of, I don't know, it was described as a smoker, I think, in this video segment, but it was a large burner of some kind, and they are pulling out all the ash and sifting through that. We can see, there's a lot of random objects around this property. I saw a quote from her brother that said, "This isn't really a place that most people would live. It's barely habitable," something along those lines. But they went and they did a search there, and they didn't find anything. But this is the man that they pulled in for questioning and arrested on unrelated charges. Outside of them not finding any physical evidence to help with the disappearance, it seems like there's some information that comes back to the family that maybe he's not involved in this. Some more comments from Nikki's mother here. "I'm trying to stay strong even though I cry practically all night." She also highlights the search efforts and how everyone rallied and came out to help with this. It was just unbelievable, the outpouring of help from the community. Investigators executed a search warrant at a home of Anderson's boyfriend, who had an active warrant out for a probation violation. "I don't believe that he's a suspect," said Nikki's mom. "I don't really know for sure, but they say he has a good alibi for that time." Mies doesn't know where her daughter is, but she doesn't believe that she just walked away. "Somebody stole her. They took her," Mies said. Now, very soon, this usually doesn't happen until you hit maybe the 60 to 90 day mark in these cases, but this is literally still within the first month. Family of missing Dakota County woman disappointed in lack of information from investigators. Troy Harrow says that he's desperate for answers about what happened to his sister Nikki. "It's terrible," he said. "Lots of sleepless nights. You wake up, you check your phone, hope for a text from her, a text from anyone. You think about her every time in your mind. It comes around and comes around." There was a glimmer of hope the previous week during a police search, but it was quickly snuffed out. "They found a slipper. We thought it might have been hers, but it wasn't." He says that he feels mostly in the dark about what investigators are up to. "They don't share any information with me. Really disappointed in the Dakota County Sheriff's Department. Very frustrating." Anderson's boyfriend was a person of interest. Sheriff Joe Lecco says that he's no longer a person of interest. So we get the confirmation from law enforcement there. Apparently this alibi must be solid. "Keep your eyes open and watch your own family," Troy says. "If it can happen in Randolph, it can happen anywhere." Now, the Sheriff's Department did issue a statement here. "Despite the family and public feeling that they're not receiving updates on our efforts, that does not mean we are not diligently working this case. It is under investigation, and we cannot share details that could jeopardize the case. That includes sharing investigative information with the family, unfortunately. We've been in contact with Nikki's brother and mother almost daily, updating them on what we can share." And they do also talk about in this that they have investigators that are working solely on this case. I'm glad to see that it's that, Randolph is so small. I don't think they even have their own police department, which might be a good thing in this case, because you're essentially getting this kind of sheriff's department from the county level, which would definitely have more resources than, a police department that could literally be maybe a few people at most. Yeah, a quick search here tells us that Randolph, the part of the city that's in the township, which is a little bit of a greater area, Randolph actually did have a police department in the 1970s, but basically it was too costly to maintain. Now we know how Troy feels and what direction he's looking at in terms of persons of interest. What about law enforcement? Are they commenting on the woodcutter at all? Here at Newsweek, we do get a little bit of information. Anderson's brother, Troy Harrow, suspects foul play. He believes his sister may have been kidnapped and points to a man who posed as a woodcutter on the Andersons' property. We're continuing to look into every possible lead we have, but we have questioned him, the alleged woodcutter, Dakota County Sheriff Joe Lecco told Newsweek. Right now, we're not solely focused on that party, but we're aware of him. What does that mean? I don't know. I can't imagine that they'd be solely focused on any one particular thing, because obviously we don't know where Nikki is. Now, it seems like, a little bit of push in the media around this. Families saying law enforcement not communicating very well. Law enforcement saying we're communicating as much as we can. There is a Facebook post from Troy that comes after this run of articles. I've spoken with the Dakota County Sheriff's Department several times. The wall they're running into is none of Nikki's friends will talk to them. Nikki had lots of friends, good and bad. What does that mean exactly? I don't know, but it does still have me wondering about that possibility that maybe she asked the woodcutter to take her somewhere. Maybe she didn't. Maybe there is some possibility if this turned into literally an abduction from her home. It's just interesting to me the way law enforcement is phrasing things around the woodcutter. There's just not, we can't really draw any firm conclusions from their comments. And even though Troy is being very strong about the direction he's looking in, we can't really draw any strong conclusions about that as well. That'd be the person I'd be most suspicious of too. It's the last person. She's literally on video walking towards them, talking to them as she's walking. Of course. And especially if we don't have good information from that person about what happened after that. We've got everything leading up to that, so then what? That's really just that big black box in this case. And is it a black box that's going to keep us from the truth? Is it going to keep Nikki hidden? I don't know. Now, there is a reward that is available for this. The Sheriff's Department issued a $5,000 reward. On top of that, private parties have offered an additional $40,000 that would be distributed independently. That's only for tips that lead to the location of Anderson or the prosecution of someone. So they're basically, they want her back, or they want the person that's responsible for doing something to her to be prosecuted. And if that happens, person that helps them cross that finish line, they're going to leave with $45,000. So this is one of the older posters, obviously, with only the $5,000 reward. Where is Nicole Anderson? What happened after she told her mom, I'm just going to the mailbox, I'll be right back. I'll finish my coffee when I get back. If you have any information in this case, please use the number that we've had on the screen this whole time. If you don't have information on this case, you can still help. Please share it with any friends, family, anyone that you know in Minnesota. We want to keep the exposure raised to this case. The article's fairly strong around the July timeframe, and you saw they even got up to Newsweek level of coverage, and then it just went completely out. I think there's only been one article released this year, and it was just a rehash of the same information that we've already covered here. So I'm trying to wave the flag on this case. I need your help to do that. So please share this video. If there's no one that you know in Minnesota, you can still help. Please hit the up vote, hit the down vote, leave a comment. All those things tell YouTube show this video to more people, and we need to do that. We have to get it in front of the people that have the information and hopefully urge them to do the right thing, call it in, and help this family that's been in pain. It's going to be a year very, very soon. So on top of all the links, we'll have those in the description box down below. As always, we will also have the Web Sleuths thread. It's just a few pages at this point. It's kind of off to a pretty decent start, though. If you want to join in on a good conversation, Web Sleuths is always a good place for that. It's moderated, stays very well on point, and every now and then you'll have people that are connected to the case that show up there. They get verified. Their information gets worked in as well. I've been a fan of Web Sleuths for well over 10 years at this point, and just want to highlight that they are very helpful in these cases. So we can have a good conversation here, of course, with the comments down below. But if you're looking to kind of take the next step, maybe help drive things towards a resolution, I think Web Sleuths is a great place to continue those efforts. You can help support the channel, lordandarts.com, by signing up for Patreon, PayPal, buying merchandise, or even just buying us a coffee. We really appreciate it. You might have noticed that we don't have ads injected in the middle of these presentations. We are doing that because we want you to be able to stay focused on the case. We're trying to get the best information we can out there in the easiest to digest way. We hope that you appreciate that. And if you do, please visit lordandarts.com. Think about becoming a supporter. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Thank you for joining me again. And please join me again next week with a brand new episode of Brainscratch right here on the Lord and Arts channel.